Okay, so here in this lesson, we're going to continue on with the wireframe, and we're going to focus specifically on this this portion of the landing page where we're talking about exchanges we offer, and we're going to have to create kind of like a table system for this. So in the rows left aligned, I was thinking we would have crypto space, ad blocks, mooners, forex, crypt, injunction space on their own rows, and then in the column on the more like on the right side, we'll have interstitial in one column, retargeting in another, email and shout out in another. So 4 columns. And then we'll have little check marks on each row for the crypto exchange to indicate which one they offer essentially. So at this point with the actual wireframe, we don't have to design something high fidelity. It can be very quick, but we need to get the structure there, which is basically what we've been doing up to this point. So let us go ahead and we'll copy this type here. Let's do that. I set that to auto width and also left align it and change the size maybe to around 24. And right here, we will put in, maybe we'll duplicate this and give this a section heading for now. Crypto exchanges section. We may or may not actually include that heading, but this is just more or less to inform the stakeholders of what this section is. So crypto space, that'll be 1. And then what we can do is, instead of putting crypto space, we can just do exchange. And they'll understand that that's what that is. So we'll exchange, and there is 5 different exchanges, so we can have 5 columns there. And then let's move this down a little bit to give us some room. Then we have the 4 columns for those 4 different ad types. So interstitial is 1. Another one will be retargeting. Another one here will be email. And then finally, we'll have shout out. All right, so let's put those up. And then what we'll have is a real quick check mark. Now you could just use Iconify to get a check mark, or you just make one yourself like I am. And there we go. It kind of almost looks like a V, which take this down just a bit. There we go. So now we can put check marks to illustrate roughly what this is going to look like when we get to the high fidelity portion in terms of structure. So now we can just duplicate these with Control D. All right, and then we could just delete some of these just to indicate and show what this might look like. Just like that. There you go. Very, very simple. So let's move these sections down just a little bit from each other. There we go. All right, next up, let's look at the client brief to see if there's anything else that we want to put. So we've tackled the core features up here, the analytics system, the exchanges we offer, the feature testimonial, but we haven't yet shown the companies that have used their service. So that's going to be the final section here of the landing page. And so for that, all we can do, or all we have to do, is just put in maybe another section just to give this part context, trust logos, and then we can get right here an ellipse, and we'll probably feature just these circular representations of the logos associated with these major businesses. So there's a lot of different ways that you could potentially tackle that, having the full logos with their names. You can put them in card format and kind of describe how they use your service. It all depends. You might want to get more information about that. But for here, just simple logos like this, perhaps in all styled in the same manner. All right, so that works there. And then finally, we'll probably put another call to action, which is always good when a person scrolls down and they lose that call to action. You want to reinforce it more. So we'll duplicate this section where it says call to action. And then finally, that leaves the actual footer. So the footer, we're just going to take these 3 elements, we're going to duplicate it, and drag it down right to around here, and drag it down more so. Now we can take our frame and move things up. All right, so there will probably be a separate navigation footer for the project. We could probably make that obvious by duplicating this and just put in footer plus footer navigation here. All right. So that is the wireframe essentially for our landing page. Now we have to ask ourselves, do we want to add any other wireframes for pages where it would make sense? Now sometimes you might have, an employer or a client who's very picky and they want to see every page have a wireframe so that they can approve it. Or sometimes if you get somebody who's a little bit more lenient, maybe it's only worth having a wireframe for pages that are non-standard pages. So a non-standard page would be anything outside of like a login page. Typically those all follow the same pattern, or a register page of some sort, or a contact form. So for us, if we look at our pages that look like they require a specific layout and thought would be ad types, because we offer the following ad types for advertisers to choose from. Each one should have a description. So banners, this has certain properties associated with it. Video, this has certain properties associated with it. Influencers, and so on and so forth. So we're going to have a wireframe for that page. Starting a campaign form. So this one, I think we're going to have a page for that as well. And we'll do a wireframe for that as well. But for login and contact, these are all pretty standardized pages. So we're going to omit those from the wireframe itself, but we are going to create 2 more pages for the wireframes, and that will be ad types and starting a campaign form, starting in the next video.